always been impressed what a bright young guy he is, and I was thrilled when he decided to come back to Yale and work at Topeka High School. Thank you. So I want to thank everybody who came out today. This is a terrific crowd. Good to see you. Here we are in front of Topeka High. This is the school where both of my daughters graduated, and so it's a very, very special place to me. And it's also a very important place for students and former students. My two daughters, Kathleen and Molly, both got a world-class education right here, thanks to the great schools like this one, and thanks to the hard work of so many teachers, some of whom I see in the audience today. You know, it's not a stretch to say that I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the schools. I probably wouldn't be a Kansan. I grew up in a military family and lived all over the world, but when my husband and Ted and I wanted to put down roots, we chose Kansas. It was just an obvious choice, and we were drawn here because of the great public schools. And our girls benefited so much from growing up in this community and going to these schools. But much of what has taken place, much of what makes Kansas so special has been under attack for the last 8 years. The cuts to our public schools have done harm to so many, and it was all to pay for tax cuts for those who needed them the least. It's wrong, and I'm running for governor to fix it, to rebuild our state and make sure all Kansas kids, no matter where they live, have the same opportunities to succeed that my daughters had. My mission has always been to do right by our kids, and today I'm proud to announce a partner in this mission to restore excellence in our schools and to our state. My running mate, Lynn Rogers. Lynn has been fighting for our schools for decades. He served on the Wichita Board of Education for 16 and a half years, beginning in 2001. He then ran for the state senate, is actually my seat group, because he knew our schools and our communities deserved better than what they were getting. And that is something that he and I have in common. During his time in the legislature, Lynn fought to reverse the Brownback volume tax experiment and invest more in our schools. And though he's lived in Wichita for the past 30 years, he spent his career traveling all over Kansas, assisting farmers and ranchers in financial planning and investments. In fact, he's done business in just about every county, all 105 counties in this state. So he knows every corner of this state. And as a businessman and a parent, he knows that every single Kansas child deserves a world-class education, no matter where they grow up. His commitment to our teachers and our students make him the right choice to help lead Kansas into this next chapter. Lynn will be a lieutenant governor that serves every family and every business, making our state a better place. I know I'm thrilled to have him join me. And Lynn, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. I'm honored and excited to be here in this mission to rebuild Kansas. I grew up on a small family farm in rural Nebraska, and when my wife Chris and I moved to Wichita 30 years ago, 1985, we really found our home. Just like Laura and Ted, we discovered that our children would have so many opportunities because of the fantastic Kansas schools. And it was in those first few years when our kids were little and I got involved in our school's parent-teacher organization that I learned really how lucky we were to live in Kansas. Kansans are committed to their schools, plain and simple. In fact, it's written into our Constitution. We believe we have a moral obligation to provide the best education we can to our kids. Not just the ones in the big city, not just those who can afford it, but every Kansas child. Sadly, during the past 8 years, Sam Brownback and Jeff Coyer have put our schools and our children's future into jeopardy. Their first legislative session, they made the largest cut to schools in Kansas history, setting us up for the school crisis we're dealing with today. The next session, they passed the Brownback tax experiment, causing a self-inflicted budget crisis that devastated our economy and our schools. And serving on the Wichita School Board during that experiment, I really saw the effects of the Brownback experiment firsthand. I saw larger class sizes, programs and support staff that were cut, a shorter school year, higher fees for parents, teacher pay freezes, and not to mention teachers paying more out of pocket for classroom supplies. Things had to change or an entire generation of kids would grow in underfunded classrooms with fewer opportunities to succeed. As Laura mentioned, I'm a businessman. I've traveled all over Kansas helping farmers and ranchers plan and invest in their futures. I've helped families in almost every Kansas county finance and buy the equipment that they need to expand their family farms. And it's the same with our kids. We must plan and invest in our futures and their futures, and local schools are key. No matter where it is, small town or large city, schools play a significant role in our communities and our economy. When our state makes these needed investments, it's not just families with kids that benefit, it's our communities, our economy. Business leaders get it. They understand that the quality of tomorrow's workforce depends on investing in our kids' education today. Laura and I get that too. During my time on the Wichita Board of Education, I worked to improve schools in Wichita. And during my time in the Kansas Senate, I fought alongside Laura Kelly to strengthen all Kansas schools. And I look forward to working with Laura as we rebuild and reinvest in our state for our future. After years of crisis and turmoil, it's time for us to elect a governor who will be a champion for our families and for our shared priorities like public schools. Laura Kelly is the right choice for governor. She has dedicated her life to making a difference for our kids, whether it's improving public schools, whether it's expanding early childhood programs, or holding the Department of Children and Families accountable. Laura puts kids and families first. She's the only candidate who's been in the trenches fighting for Kansas families during the past 8 years. When Sam Brownback and Jeff Collier hurt our schools and our kids, Laura was there sounding the alarm and demanding accountability. She is known as a no-nonsense problem solver who will work with anyone to get things done for Kansas families. Someone I've witnessed firsthand since I've come to Topeka last year. Laura can bring people together like no one else. So at this pivotal moment in history, this pivotal moment of recovery in Kansas, we need that. So I'm honored to be joining Laura. She will be the education governor our children, our families, and our businesses deserve. Thank you very much.
We'll take questions if there are any. None?
Yeah, one of your primary opponents, picking his running mate, who is 40 and he's in his high 30s, described their ticket as the ticket of the future. I'm looking here, and he's got gray hair.
I've had that for a while.
Yeah, well, so have I. But do you worry that in not picking somebody younger that you're going to be described as
John, my goal in selecting a lieutenant governor is selecting someone who cares about Kansas as much as I do and will bring to the table a skill set that will allow us to work together to move Kansas forward. I believe that Kansans really are looking and need at this time strong, experienced leaders to move forward. You know, we are at a time of crisis. We need someone who can get in that governor's office and go to work on day one to fix this state.
Do you believe the school finance system is constitutional?
We're going to find out real soon.
Well, what do you think? I mean, you were there watching it be assembled.
Well, I was cautiously optimistic that the court would find that we made a good faith effort to address the issues that face our schools today, given the resources available. You know, obviously they're having conversation now, and we can see what they decide. But if I were the court, I would not give up jurisdiction on the case. I would keep it and make sure that we fulfill our pledge, and that they recognize that within that formula that we set up is a consumer price index increase every year so that we never get ourselves back in this situation.
And I I think the next governor is really going to have to work well with our education community to rebuild our education community. We've got to recruit teachers, we've got to bring people onto the ground and put some of these things into effect. And again, tell the communities that we have great schools and need great schools, and use her bully pulpit to do that. And I think Laura is the one that can make that happen.
From a practical standpoint, though, 2 state senators, if the legislature is called back into special session this summer, isn't that going to hinder your ability to transact?
It will definitely take up some time, but you know, we're both pretty hard workers, and we can multitask. We get it both done.
What will take that into account?
My having to be in session, not being
Yeah,
able to.
you specifically. No. The fact that we're in the middle of an election cycle and personally the governor, you, others, does it take those kinds of exigencies into consideration when making a decision?
You know, I really can't speak for the court, Jim. I have watched them in the past, though, and I think they rule as they see fit and do what they think is right. So, and I think they will do that in this case.
Are we levying enough taxes to provide the services schools in Kansas need?
Yeah, Martin, the question was, are we levying enough taxes to fund our schools, essentially? I think we have enough money in the bank right now to fund the schools adequately. We really need to look and let the dust settle on what we did last year and what feds have done to see where things pan out as we go.
A little bit of a step back question. You know, obviously with President Trump, you know, ties to Topeka and all that, that's an issue to raise. Does it make it easier for Democrats this year, knowing
The question was, is it easier or harder because Kobach and Trump are so tied to run as a Democrat in this state? I think we could just look across the country and see what is happening. You know, there's a bit of a Democrat wave going on. So I think if anything,
How do you address getting more teachers in the classroom when teachers have not necessarily been thought of as being that great of a profession to go into over the last 8 years in Kansas? How do you get that pipeline rebuilt?
you know, being a teacher used to be a very honored profession, and we will bring that back to the state of Kansas. I mean, not only will we fund our schools and our teachers, we will also bring back the respect that they are due and more.
You spend a lot of time talking about education. What are some of the other key platform items you're looking to tackle with the
Well, we're certainly looking at healthcare. We do believe that we need to expand Medicaid so that we can provide healthcare access to 150,000 Kansans, but also to help our economy. You know, we've watched some of our rural hospitals close or on the brink of closing, and we've also watched the lack of job development that has occurred because we refuse to expand Medicaid. We will change that.
Lieutenant Governor holding the other cabinet codes, what role?
So, here right now, we have not gone there. Beside that, we'll let things unfold and see where the needs are and what we can bring to the table to make things even better for Kansas.
I think also the effort of, you know, my ties to education, my ties to the agricultural world, the ties throughout the state. I'm going to do a lot of listening for the governor and bringing that information back as well.
Senator Rogers, I might have asked you this in the past, but I'm curious, given your time on the Wichita School Board, your time as a state senator, what do people maybe in school boardrooms across the state not really understand about the way things work in Topeka and work in the state house and vice versa? What maybe don't people at the state government level in the legislature and the executive branch not understand about, you know, the way you all operate at the...
Well, I think that's one of the things I bring to the table is understanding how local governments work, and that has helped me a lot in the legislature, partly to help my colleagues understand that when we go through the budgeting cycle, how we do that, how we spend our money, that it comes in at different times of the year, those kinds of things. It's not a silver bullet just to do one or two little things. So I think that kind of experience has helped. And I've seen that with some of our other people that have been elected that have local government experience. So that's to me one of the strengths that I have on the ticket is that I can help Laura with that local government experience, and school board members really just want to make sure that we have good teachers, we have great things going on in our classrooms, and that they're allowed to serve their community. And they, in the last few years, 8 years, have been basically in survival mode, trying to keep the doors open. And so they're encouraged. I see a little bit of ray of hope that maybe we're turning the corner, but we're really going to have to concentrate on that and continue to do that.
That was a note made clear by the plaintiff's attorneys in the oral arguments earlier this week, is how short the timeline is for school boards if they need to get budgets set and that sort of a thing. Having been on the school board as long as you were in Wichita, how quick does the court need to decide if changes need to be made?
Well, it's almost immediate, because they've got to just have a budget by August 25th, and so you backing that off with the notices and all those kind of things, you're really needing it as early June as we can go. So and having that multiple year, that's one of the good things about 423 and SB 761 is it had a 5-year window so people can plan, and that will be helpful. So that's something that's important.
All right. Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you all.
Be safe.